Alright troops, cheers for tuning in. It's Friday night. My wee boy's with his grandpa at the swimming. He stays with him every Friday, so got the gaff to myself. Hope he's having a good Friday and not going to be too hungover in the morning. I'm sober obviously. Had a few beers for the Rangers game last night. Great game, man. So stayed in to watch it for a change. Usually I'm out on a Tuesday and a Thursday, but took the night off and it was a great watch, man. So obviously I've not been on making any videos for a couple of weeks or whatever. I've had stuff going on and I've been a bit busy with my personal life and that. Just different things to deal with being a dad or whatever. So I've not really had the I've not really had the kind of the time to be doing it. But I've been looking. This isn't got to be a video about somebody I was in jail with. What I want to talk about the new is the kind of concept of rehabilitation in Scotland, right? Now, I don't like the word rehabilitation because it kind of makes me think that rehabilitation, you were returned to the condition or the state you were in before prison or whatever. But rehabilitation was actually a medical term. So if you broke your arm or your leg, and your leg or arm were rehabilitated, it was back the way it was. But I'm not back the way I was before I went to prison. Obviously I've changed and I'm different now, but I'm not the way I was before I went. And the thing is, oh, yawn. Not getting enough sleep. The thing is, right, the main function of prison in any society, apart from keeping the public safe, should be to reform people. Now that's the word I prefer, reform. And the reason that I prefer the word reform is I don't believe for a hot second that anybody who's lived a life of crime, violence, whatever, is incapable of behaving that way in the future. What I think happens is there's a kind of watershed moment in their life or something that kind of sparks change. So that thing that sparks the change in an offender, like it's like one comes after that, so there could be multiple ones. So like you go out of jail, you meet a lassie, so you get out of jail, so say you're like, that's it, I'm never going back, right? Say it just bothered you that, traumatised you that much, hated it that much, right? You're just, I'm not going back there. So freedom, getting your freedom could be one. Then you meet a lassie, that could be another reason. You could get married, which is another. Have a kid, get a job. Do you know what I mean? So there's all these kind of things. It's like support things, right? That if an ex-offender has these in his life, I say the less likely he is to re-offend. In my personal case was obviously the length of the sentence that I got. I'd already finished like a long-term sentence before that, even though it was 4 years, right? At a 15-year-old boy, that's still, whatever way you want to look at it, it's years out your life. Then the 16 years, and when I got that, I was just like, I need to do something new to make sure I don't come back here. Do you know what I mean? Because I seen like people who were doing life sentences for like 1984, so I was like 2-year-old then, and they had been in all that time. So, and they were really like dead bitter and cynical, and they just looked like they had nothing to live for. And I used to think to myself, no chance of my ending up like that. Do you know what I mean? So, started doing things like my education, And then obviously when I got out, like like after 6 year 8 months of the sentence, I got a lassie pregnant, sent back to jail for breaching my licence 2 weeks before my son was born, and then I was just like, no, enough's enough. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, right, prisons in our country seem to they do a lot of talking about rehabilitation, right? So, for example, the Scottish Prison Service, right? Every kind of 4 year they bring out this policy thing called the corporate plan. Now, for one, that sounds, how do I put it? The SPS isn't a business. You're making it sound like a fucking business. Do you know what I mean? And it's like this managerialism, like targets and quotas and box ticking. So, like, on your courses and fucking just it's lip service, right? It's just fucking lip service. Because I remember reading so when I was finishing my degree, I remember one of the documents that I referenced in my thesis at the end of my degree was called the Corporate Plan 2014 to 2017 or something. It was something like that, right? Whatever it was. And I'm just trying to find it in, because I have a copy of my paper here, and I'm trying to find it because it's quite important. Do you know what I mean? Because this is years later, so how are they doing with it? They know, right? So in that, I remember seeing, we will place desistance at the heart of purposeful activity. Now let me explain that sentence that I just said there. So desistance obviously is desistance from crime. Basically, what's involved in helping people leave jail and stay out of jail, what's kind of associated with, what's the wee processes, nuances, like what I said there about like the transformation, meeting a lassie and settling down, so aye, that was one reason, blah blah blah, right? So purposeful activity in prison is, I think I might have explained this before, is basically going to work, going to the gym, doing education and prisoner programs, right? So that's classed as purposeful activity, and that is a phrase that the Scottish Prison Service actually use, purposeful activity, right? So they're saying back in 2014, we will place this at the heart of purposeful activity. Now, I think that would be a very, very good idea to do that. But the thing is, I got out in 2019. Nobody had even heard of the assistance in there. I hadn't even heard it until I was finishing my degree. And so as I said, in criminology, you get all these different things you can study, and I picked the assistance for crime because I thought in prison or rehabilitation, because I thought I'm in prison, I'll end up getting a really high mark for this. And the thing is, like, there's all this talk at the top levels, right? And it's obviously coming for the academics and government. There's all this. Some of the academic stuff is really, I think it would bear fruit with a lot of people, right? It would be like, to me, it would be like going to AA, right? Or whatever. Like, because crime isn't a physical addiction for a lot of re-offenders. It's almost like I don't know, like, there's different reasons for people doing what they're doing, right? But if they don't understand how to go straight, their feelings about going straight, their thoughts about going straight, then how are they meant to kind of question it and evolve that kind of process, that journey? And that's what kind of pissed me off, because I knew for a fact this wasn't happening. So prisoners weren't being rehabilitated, they're being dehabilitated. Like, prison was just fucking making them more likely to come back. And the thing is, I know when they're saying like about working and all that in there, right? But see, the thing is, right, when a lot of guys are coming out, like a lot of them have no prospects, right? Myself included. I had better prospects than I went in, obviously, but COVID hit no long after I got out and everything just went to shit. I think the world's just kind of, it's different now, but we're moving on for it. But in regards to re-entering society, which is obviously the most critical period in desistance and all that, because that's when we're going to find out, are you, so let me put it in it this way, right? Obviously, when I went back to jail in 2011, I was desisting in prison, right? Because in prison, if you can be charged with an offence, which I was, then to me, you can desist in prison. Because if you can commit a crime, anywhere you can commit a crime, if you're not committing a crime, then you're desisting for crime, right? And I didn't realise that this was all, there was research into this and theory and all that until I was finishing my studying. Now that just put that, when I was reading all this literature, my brain was just lighting up like a fruit machine, because it was almost like it was written about somebody just like me, and I recognised a lot of my own thoughts and feelings in this literature, and it really helped, right? So what's to say that wouldn't help some other guy who's doing mega time, mega porridge, right? Because instead of these courses, like see, like what I've mentioned before, the violence prevention program, that was like doing a university psychology module, right? Nobody was interested. I was in the first year in my degree, and it was I was kind of like that, like as I've said before, like it was soul destroying a wee bit. The way it was written, and it was as if they thought we were all on their level. They weren't kind of thinking, it wasn't like they put themselves in our shoes. How would they best respond to this course, right? How would they get the most out? It was as if they thought they'd written it for themselves, right? How would we best respond to it if we were them? Which they're thinking with their own brains, no ours. Do you know what I mean? Which is pretty. If I'm onto something, that's pretty telling. Do you know what I mean? But there's no doubt that I think if the assistance was, I don't mean taught in prison, like delivered in some sort of course, right? A course that's been devised by like academics, but no written in an academic style, but no patronising or condescending or that, just simplified, maybe, if you want to say that. Um, and maybe that will give them the mental and emotional capacity to recognise the difference between the criminal side of your brain and the kind of, I would say, objective side. Because like, I don't class myself as criminally minded, even though I've been in prison. Like, do you know what I mean? Um, but it's a matter of debate. You know what I mean? You maybe get, I've seen some reports that would probably say otherwise, but I know myself better than them. So anyway, the thing is, right, so as I'm saying about people coming out of prison, where the systems is going to be tested, what are they coming out to? Like, the world is so changed now, right? Um, People who have worked all their lives are struggling to get good employment. So, what is the route here for people like that have done 20-year, 15-year, 10-year, 8-year, whatever? Um, there's not a lot of kind of people who'll give you an opportunity. Um, and the funny thing is, right, we parrot ourselves as this um, liberal society, which obviously in some aspects, aye, but when it comes to how ex-offenders are viewed, I wouldn't say we're that liberal, because you look at mainland Europe, right? There's this thing called Judicial Rehabilitation, right? Which is basically, if you can convince a court of law that you are, we'll say rehabilitated, even though I don't like to say that, right? I prefer reformed. If you can present to the court that you're rehabilitated, you have a legal, it's legally recognised. So basically it would be like going to court and presenting a case like a trial and presenting evidence. And this is actually in France, Holland, Germany, Spain, and I know that from my own research. I still have that research, like in hard copy. I kept it all. Like, I'm a mad hoarder that way with my books and my papers. I like to reread it again, but anyway. So you can say you'd been out of prison 10 years and you could evidence the transformation, the change, and convince a court that you had completely turned your life around, and you'll be legally recognised as rehabilitated. Now, answer me this. Why does the UK not have that? Do you know what I mean? Because academics are writing about this. Is it that the government, they don't want it? I don't know. That, and there's not going to be a lot of people, trust me, there's not going to be a lot of people, if we did have that law, that would probably be able to present themselves like that. But it would really, that would be, I think that would be a really positive step in the right direction. Because you imagine, right, if you've been pulled with the police, right, or been in trouble before and done a big sentence, you get stopped with the cops, right, and they do a background, the computer check, and it comes back, you've just done a 16-year sentence for bank robbery, attempt murder, whatever. How do you think that copper's gonna, I know how I would feel. I'd be like, what, man, here, check, here, be taking him. Do you know what I mean? I think that's how they would feel. But if it came back on the radio, he done 16 years for bank robbery, attempt murder, assaults, whatever, but under section whatever, they would be like, they'd probably shake your hand, send you on your way. So, think of the kind of impact a law like that would have here. Do you know what I mean? Even Norway, like, look at their prison system. Don't know if any of you have ever read up in this, but that was another thing I was reading. It was called penal exceptionalism, right? A bit of big word, I know, but basically their prison system stands out as exceptional. Like, it was just, there's documentaries on Netflix not about it. It was just, I was like, holy shit, man, like, guys in for murder, and it was all like they were living, there was no bars on the windies, and they were all wearing their own clothes all the time, and the staff were, the rooms looked like something out of fucking Holiday Inn, their cells, right? There was no graffiti, there was no toothpaste all there was, and banging and screaming and shouting. I don't think they had any kind of slashings, knife attacks or that. And I'm sitting here, and the re-offending rate was like 20%. Ours is like 70, 80, something like that. So, and another interesting thing that I noticed about Norway, they don't really sensationalise crime, whereas we do. I think I said before about how one time in Shotts prison, a team came in to play the Shotts football team, obviously, because there's no away games, not a win for the Shotts team. And all the guys who got out to watch this game were your kind of quieter guys. But when it was in the Sun newspaper, it was like a baying mob of bloodthirsty prisoners. Now, I remember sitting smoking hash with my pal, right, every day for about 4 months in that shorts, right, in that NIC. And we couldn't stop giggling at that. Because we knew all the guys that were out. And they were all the quiet ones, and they weren't involved in any politics, a lot of first offenders, fresh kind of faced, do you know what I mean? Like, aye, they were in for crime, but in fact, one of them was the guy about the, mind I said about the Alabama fudge cake, the guy who was eating the fudge cake, no, the guy that said it. Do you know what I mean? And we were just like, if there was anybody that was going to be a baying mob, they were the last people, do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like disrespectfully, I was just saying it like it is. So maybe the media definitely have some kind of part to play in that, but obviously they're making big donations in to political parties and all that shit for the tap, do you know what I mean? So there's not going to be, that's not going to change in this country, do you know what I mean? But I do think that judicial rehabilitation in this country would be fucking, that I think that would be game changing, totally game changing, because if you can morally rehabilitate yourself, then should the state no step up and judicially rehabilitate you? It's a fucking good question, innit? Because see all this soundbite fucking what's it, the Scottish Prison Service on their corporate plan, they have this slogan, it's unlocking potential, transforming lives. Whose fucking life are they transforming? They're not transforming MD's life for the better. Not a chance. And I'm not on here trying to run them into the ground or whatever. I'm just stating facts. People might say it's my opinion, but the reoffending speaks for itself. And since I've come out of prison, there's been a spike in deaths, and that's due to obviously the kind of shift in the choice of drugs, because obviously there's been a shift in the sense that when I first went to jail, it was things like, people were taking things like so like street, just things you go out in the street, so hash, Valium, acid, ecstasy, heroin, cocaine, but that you never really saw that. That was like, nobody really got that. But then it went for that to prison meds, like pills, and then for that to prison meds and the so what they call etizolam, so the street Valium, right, that people are dying with, and MPS, it's called, they call it new psychoactive substance, but legal high, so spice and all that shit. And I seen some horrible things with that shit, man. Like, that was a game changer when that came in. It would be like me, the way I'm presenting myself now, like kind of on the ball, compass mentis, holding a fucking conversation. Then after smoking that every day for about 3 months, 6 months, a year, I'm walking about fucking talking about ghosts in my cell and snipers on the roof, spaceships beaming me up, there's a microchip in my fucking my brain, the screws put it there, and you're just like, what the fuck? I know a guy, a guy I classed as a pal. It was fun. He was one of the prison deaths, like I think 2 years ago, and he was hammering that legal high, man, and the transformation in him was, it was night and day, man. And it just it was shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just shit. Nobody wants to be getting a phone call saying their son's fucking died in there or whatever, do you know what I mean? but drugs are like fucking in there the way money is out in the street. Do you know what I mean? You can buy anything in there with drugs. Drugs are worth more than money. Do you know what I mean? And there's just no, they're never going to get rid of drugs. But at the same time, there's got to be people in there who, if this desistance narrative was presented to them, that they would benefit from it. Do you know what I mean? And obviously I would have said I was one of them, but obviously I discovered it on my own. And the thing is, alright, the prison service have a rule. So this is out of the rule book, right? The Scottish Prison Service rule book. That I actually quoted in my thesis, right? And this is quite, when we're talking about purposeful activity and rehabilitation, right? It says, Rule 81, paragraph 2, right? So this is a direct quote. The governor must determine a programme of work, educational activities and counselling for the prisoner with the objectives of improving A. the prospects for the successful resettlement in the community, and B. the prisoner's morale, attitude and self-respect. So, let me ask you a question. Do you think the governor of a prison has got the time to sit down and go through each individual case and sort all that out? Not a chance, right? And I don't want to say it like, to me that's them breaking their own rules, but at the same time, how's he meant to implement that? Every case is different. It's not a one size fits all. Do you know what I mean? But there's no kind of none of this shit. You're getting sent to work. You don't need to do education and counselling, and then that's quite ironic, right? Because that came out like maybe 10 years ago or something. The rule book that was an update phase 2006 or something, and then I looked online the day and seen the newest publication of the Scottish Prison Service's corporate plan, and it was saying how they're going to be trauma informed. This is their new soundbite. It's like money laundering, right? And what I mean by that is, see, money laundering when you're putting money through a business, right? And then after 2 years, whatever, you shut the business down, make another company, put the money through, so it's just spinning all the time, right? To me, this is what they're doing with these narratives. It's like, we're going to embed desistance at the heart of purposeful activity, and then when they can't prove that they've successfully done that or even implemented it, now they'll come out with, right, now we're trauma informed, and then when that fucking doesn't float, and then by the time the next corporate plan's coming out, they're going to be hitting it with some other shit, you know what I mean? And it's just keeping the cycle going, do you know what I mean? And obviously there's people in prison that society does need protected for, obviously, right? But I'm sure there's a lot of people in there that they're no bad, they've just done stupid things, they've done bad things, right? That could get their fucking life together with the right skills, support, whatever. But and I believe too that you need to show that you are doing it. Nobody's got to walk up and hand you jobs, this, that, blah, blah, blah. You need to work at it. Do you know what I mean? But, like, the same way, like, these kind of, a lot of these third sector organisations, right? There was one of them, it was called Release Scotland, right? That was another one that I mentioned in my paper. So basically what happened was, this was like 2017 or whatever. So I seen it in the paper, it was in the Sun or the Record, right? Release Scotland is serving up a chance to make amends. So basically what it was this organisation, Release Scotland, got government funding, and all these employers signed up to them, like Greg's the Bakery, Reed Global, Timpson's, fucking Virgin, see Richard Branson's Virgin Trains, right? Couple of other companies, right? And what they were basically saying was people coming out of prison are a valuable source of employment of workforce, right? Rather than them coming out to fuck all, sitting about, falling into the old traps, blah blah blah. We'll train them up, give them jobs, right? So I'm like, yeehaw, I'm going to sail into this when I get out. So I go to the education manager to look on the website. No phone number, no postal address, right? So they had an email address, right? So I was like, fuck it, I'll email them when I get out. Emails them when I get out, right? No response. I'd sent 3 emails, right? Took them 10 months to get back to me. Most guys would have been back in before then, they answered that. And do you know what they done? Referred me to fucking this, I can't even remember the name of it. This outfit that used to go to job centres and teach guys how to write CVs, and I'm like, mate, I've been in fucking jail half my life, man. What am I going to write in my CV? I've not got a CV. Oh, you done a degree? Oh, what do you fucking do? What? You're not getting it. I'm not the type of guy that's going to walk into a job. I have no skills that way. So to me, that was just all mere fucking piecemeal fucking sound bites and hollow. It was just hollow as fuck. Now, there might be people success stories in that Release Scotland. I've never heard any, but how have they not got somebody for Release Scotland in every prison in this country who, to know every prison, right? But obviously people phoning up and saying, right, who's out soon? Are you willing to get your life together? Aye, we'll see if you're, how are you willing to come up with us? Are you willing to put the work in to get employment, get a house, live a stable life? Aye, well come on, we'll train you. How are they not doing that? Aye, they're all no all of them, right? There is a lot of good people that want to see us do well and want us to stay out, but even even when they're bringing these kind of laws, employment laws and all that, see like or disclosure laws and all, they never ever apply to people who are doing serious time. Do you know what I mean? It's always like, if you've done 3 months or less, you can apply to have your record expunged. Now, I'm not saying my record should be expunged, right? But more has to be done to implement this judicial rehabilitation, and this is what we're talking about with the legal system. Academics will advise, obviously, but more has to be done because you need to put theory into practice, right? You need to practice what you preach, not what I'm talking about. And if they want rehabilitation, then this is the way forward, I think, 100%. Do you know what I mean? Don't see it happening in my lifetime, but you never know. And I would love to be part of something like that. See, like, trying to like if there was like committees or sending out for like research reports and they were actually talking to people like myself, people who had been in and out of prison all their life and were just like struggling to go straight. No saying but obviously I have my son, and like there's no bigger purpose than that for me. And whatever way you want to look at it, like sometimes I just feel like gone Rambo, do you know what I mean? But then I just think of my son and I'm like, fuck it, know what I mean? They're not worth it, whatever. But what about the people that don't have anything when they're coming up? What about people that don't have a house? What about people that have no money coming out to fuck all. What they gotta do as soon as they get it? Do you know what I mean? There has to be more done to tackle that. And see all these Scottish Prison Service fucking unlocking potential transform lives. This is just nonsense, man. Every corporate plan, they've got a new fucking paradigm, a new way you're looking at something. Never happens. Why have they not got what they call a KPI, a key performance indicator? How they measure, like, alright, so everybody that's done courses, how many, like, basically they're box ticking. Do you know what I mean? How have they not got one for that? Do you know what I mean? Like, how many people desisted? Not they only know you desisted when you die. No, I don't think so. If I was committing crimes every day for 15 years and now I've went 40 or 10 years without, then I'm proven to be doing it. Do you know what I mean? So there seems to be a disconnect here somewhere. Something's getting stuck in the pipe when it's coming down for the tap. Do you know what I mean? And I hope that somewhere somebody in a position to do something about that will notice it and try and connect these two broken kind of wires. Do you know what I mean? But I hope that was interesting. I know it's not my usual. It's more an academic side. It's a bit of a kind of maybe even like what the fuck's he talking about, but it's important to me that I'm not just talking about fucking all the notorious people I know or brush shoulders with in the fucking corridor or whatever. I don't just want it to be all about that. Eventually I want to be talking to people, maybe interviewing people and like recording it so as I can put it on here and people can see for themselves what's being said about trauma-informed desistance at the heart of purposeful activity and all this shit and why it's not happening. We'll see what they do with the trauma-informed, and it'll only be like young offenders or lassies who were had the misfortune to be like abused as children or whatever, but I don't know if it's even aimed at people like myself, right? But I don't see what good bringing up that trauma is going to do for anybody. I've worked through mine, know what I mean? But some people on the maybe that lucky or that able, don't get me wrong, I still have bad days, know what I mean? I'm not sitting fucking kidding myself on making it like, oh, I'm made of steel. No, not a chance, mate. Know what I mean? I've been affected by what I've done and how I've lived and all that shit, but I fucking keep going. Do you know what I mean? That's it. You just need to fucking keep going. What's the option? Roll on, die. Fuck that shit. Know what I mean? I'll sleep when I'm dead. One of them ones. But that's no knocking anybody else's trauma. Do you know what I mean? We're all different. So I hope that was insightful, and I hope you have a good night, and I'll catch up with you next time I'm making a video. Good night.